It's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and in today's lesson I'm going to show you how to play Girls Like You by Maroon 5. Now I'm going to show you a few ways to play this. We're going to show you that main riff, which may seem complicated, but it's actually just pretty much one riff that's changed around a little bit, and there's two rhythms that go with it, and then we're going to show you how to get the right sound. So instead of just picking the notes, I'm going to show you how to get the exact right tone. You know, there's a pretty big difference between doing it those ways, and I'll show you what that difference is. And then if you're not into playing like a super fast riff with all this muting and all these techniques, I'm also going to show you how to strum through the tune just using 4 simple chords, just the same 4 chords over and over. So this song, you either play the riff over and over, or you play the same chords over and over, or you can kind of mix and match. You know, you could start with the riff and then go into the chords, and I'll show you how to do all that. At the very end, we'll just recap everything and put it all together. Anyways, if along the way you find that you need some extra help, say with the chord shapes or with some of the techniques, I have a couple resources that might help you. There's my free ebook for rhythm guitar. There's my free ebook for lead guitar. You can find both of those. There's links down below. Otherwise, we're going to get started with that first riff. I'll play it for you really slowly. And that's the whole riff. We would just repeat that over and over again. And that might seem pretty complicated, like there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. I'm doing a few techniques to make it sound different. I'm not just picking notes straight up. But if we break it down, there are a bunch of patterns that we can recognize that'll help us memorize this quicker so that we can practice it properly. You build it up. You start slow and you speed it up bit by bit, and you'll definitely get there. First thing we're going to do is divide this up into 4 parts. The first part goes like this. So this part starts off with the 3rd fret of the A string. That's the note C. You know, if you know the C chord, that's the root of your C chord. We pluck that note, and don't worry about the sound yet. We'll go over all that stuff later, all the muting and everything. For now, let's just get the notes so that we have something to practice when we're doing the muting stuff. So we have that 3rd fret on the A string. Then I'm going to play the 5th fret of the D string. So that's 4 notes. We just go down, up, so far. And then I'm going to go 5, 3, 2, also on the D string. So those are our notes. 3 on the A string, 5, 5, 5, 5, then 5, 3, 2. So just work that out for a sec. Just pause the video and just memorize the order of those notes. Now we're going to add one simple thing. We're going to add a couple of muted notes. So after we play the first note, then we're going to go. So all I'm doing there is I'm getting ready to play this 5th fret, but I'm not pressing the note down. So I play my first note, and then I put my pinky finger on the next note that I'm going to play. But instead of pressing it down, I just pluck it and get a muted sound. I just do that 2 times, down, up. Then I press the note down and I go down, up, down, up. So let's practice just that bit. You know, with the counting. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So that's our first rhythm. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Now, our next part goes like this. So the notes are happening on 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. That's the second rhythm that you need. And those are the only 2 rhythms. There's 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and then 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. Where 1, the and after 2, and 4 are emphasized. So get used to those rhythms. A good way to do it is just with a single note. So I'm just going to play the 5th fret here, and I'm just going to go 1 and and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm just pressing down the note to emphasize it, and then I'm letting go of the pressure and just playing mutes on all the rest of them. 1, mute, mute, and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 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 and 3. And you just do that, go from really slow and perfect, and you slowly speed it up gradually so that you can get it fast and perfect. You can just try it and maybe it'll work out for you, but I think that's the way that for the people it doesn't work out for, that's how they get it. Now, instead of playing that on a single note, like once you're ready, we just change the notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So let's put those two parts together now. We have and then let's do it super duper slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Cool. So before we move on and learn the rest of it, let's figure out how to get the right sound. If we can get this first bit of it sounding like the real song, all we have to do is change a couple notes and you'll be able to figure out the rest of it easily. There's two techniques that we need to do in order to make this sound proper. The first one is palm muting, and that's where we just overlap a little bit of the string with our palm. So instead of getting big notes, they're kind of muffled. And I would just go between those two notes just to see, just to work out the tone, listen, be very self-critical and assess how it sounds, and maybe move your hand a bit more towards the middle. Oh, that kills the notes. Well, I'll move it here. Find the perfect spot, find what works well with your hand. And the other technique is muting excess strings. So that means when I'm playing that first note, I could hit all the strings, but only the note that I want is going to come out. And I do that just by laying my first finger on all the strings. That just mutes them, and then I can. So practice that a bit. I would go between that note and that note. It's kind of weird to not press with your first finger, but press with another finger. You have to learn how to shift the balance on your hand, and I think that's a great exercise for it. Just playing our first note, then the second note of our riff. All the while leaving my first finger just resting on the strings. And the reason why we're muting the excess strings is so that we can kind of be a bit more loose with this hand. If you watch the original recording, he's moving from the elbow there. And that's what makes it sound a lot more percussive and a lot bigger instead of just. It's like. So now that we have those two techniques, let's incorporate them into that riff that we've already practiced a little bit. We're going to start off here. Now we're going to lay our first finger on the strings to mute them. We're going to palm mute, and let's do just the first couple notes. Mute, mute. Just try that. Then move a step further. That's our first rhythm. Then the next part. And for that very last note, you kind of have to use your first finger, so you're not muting the strings with it anymore. And then when you start again, you go right back into muting it. So just try that, try going from this lick back to the very first note of it so that you can reset for the next part of the riff. And this is the thing that if I was teaching somebody, I would not expect them to get it right away. I would say, try this, I'll see you next week. I'd see them next week. They'd be halfway there maybe. I'll show them some more stuff. We'll practice it. Practice it just like I showed you, bit by bit. Start with the riff, with counting, wherever you're at, and then add little bits to it. Now, once you have that first riff and you feel pretty good about it, don't have to play it fast yet. Just maybe that's too fast. Play it even slower, as slow as you need to make it perfect. Remember to count out loud. Use a metronome if you can. The next part of this riff is very, very similar. It goes like this. So the first half is the same. And then once we get here, instead of going 5, 3, 2, we go 5, 7, 2. So just that middle note was different. It's 5, 7, 2. And about our first finger muting, it's still gonna mute, it can just slide up. So 5, 7, then you gotta grab that 2, all the way from here. So you have to make a bit of a jump. I would practice just going like that, just 7, 2, 7, 2. Anytime there's a hard part in the song, I just practice it a whole bunch. There's just that one moment where you're going from this note to that note and it's too hard. That's what you practice. That's how you get better. If you're practicing all the easy parts, then you're just playing your repertoire. You're not necessarily moving further. You're just reinforcing, which is good, but we want to move further. So practice those really hard parts. Now the third bit of this riff is the same as the first. So far we've gotten 3/4 of the way through it. All that's left is the last bit, which is totally different, except it uses the same rhythm. It uses that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, which I was calling our second rhythm. All we have to do is play 2 notes. We have the 5th fret on the A string, and then the 2nd fret on the D string. And we just go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 times. So just count that out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's it. That's the 4th part. So pause the tape, work on that really quick. Then we can put this whole thing together super duper duper slowly. When we practice this, first thing I want to say is don't worry about the palm muting and the excess string muting, with your fretting hand. Don't worry about that if it's too much. And it should be. You should just worry about getting the notes in time. That's the first step. Then we can add those polishing things after. We're gonna do it super duper slowly and just try your best. You can always watch it a whole bunch of times. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So there are a couple parts of the song where the riff stops playing, and during those parts we can do some chords. In the recording it's all done on like synths and keyboards and stuff like that. We're gonna do it on a guitar. It's just 4 really simple chord shapes. The first one's C, then we go to a G, and then A minor, and then F. And for the F chord, we could play a bar chord, or we could do this simpler version of it. So I'm skipping the first string, 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 3rd fret, muting the low string. And that's a good grip for the F chord, really simple. When we switch back to C to start the whole riff again, it's really easy. We can just leave these 2 fingers down. So we're on F, we leave down our 1st and 3rd finger, we go to a C chord. I recommend trying that a few times, just silently switching between the two just to work out the motions. So let's just quickly work on the chord shapes and then I'll show you how to strum through them. We're going to start off on C. 1, 2, 3, 4. To G. Just 4 strums each. F. You can use the easy one or the bar chord. Couple more times. All right, so make sure you can do that before we learn the strumming pattern. And there's actually 2 ways we can do this. We could do like a breakdown sort of feel. And I'm just counting in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm strumming on 1, hit on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the other way we can do it is with a strumming pattern, using the most common strumming pattern ever. I'll do it really slowly. 3 and 4 and down, down, up, down, up. And if you have trouble with that, just divide it into 2 parts. First is down, down, up. We would count that out. 1, 2, and just count it out. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And then the second half is miss, up, down, up. 3, 4. Miss, up, down, up. So you could just go 1, 2, miss, up, down, up. 1, 2, miss, up, down, up. And you want to be really rhythmic and musical even when you're practicing, just counting the whole thing. It's like you're playing a song. 1, 2, miss, up, down, up. 1, 2, miss, up, down, up. And you put that together with the first half. 1, 2, and miss, up, down, up. And if you need extra help with that or with the F chord or any of that stuff, I have a rhythm guitar ebook. I've already mentioned it. It's completely free. It has a bunch of videos that show you all the basic chords, chord switching, and essential strumming patterns. So I have a video that covers that strumming pattern. I'll put a link down below if you need extra help with it or with the F chord. There's a video for that too. So if you need any extra help, please check that out. Anyways, we do that strumming pattern 1 time on each chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Couple more times. Cool, so we've worked on all the parts. We worked on the riff, we worked on the strumming, which can be super simple, just or. Now, for putting it all together, it's really, really simple. We start off with that riff, and we play it forever, pretty much, until the second chorus. And if you're not doing the riff, you could just start off strumming and do that until the end of the second chorus. And when the second chorus ends, if you listen to the song, you hear that it does a breakdown thing, and that's when I would go. Do that sort of thing. And then we go back into the riff or the chords. It's like a sandwich. It starts off with the riff or the strumming, does the breakdown thing, then riff or strumming. That's it, that's the whole song. So simple. And once you're comfortable doing it that way, like it is on the recording, you can mix and match. You can do whatever you want. You know, a lot of the time when you see a performer, they're gonna have their own version of a song. So you could maybe start with the chords, then go into the riff for the chorus, and then go back to the chords and then the breakdown. You can put it together however you want. Just remember to switch between them, you know, go from doing the riff to doing the chords or whatever when the sections change, you know, when it goes from the verse to the chorus or at the end of the chorus or whatever. Listening to the song and knowing the parts, that's more than half the battle. Anyways, that's how you play Girls Like You by Maroon 5. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you need any extra help with any of the elements in this song, check out my free ebooks, my free mini course. I have a whole bunch of stuff that is designed to help you get better at guitar, you know, in a gradual way so that you can actually grow and not just get stumped. I hate when, you know, giving people too much stuff. I made that mistake like my first year of teaching and never again. You got to challenge yourself, but don't make an insurmountable challenge. You know, this one is pretty hard. I'm going to be completely honest. For being like a simple pop tune or whatever, the picking in this is quite difficult. Strumming's fine, but the picking in this one is quite a, you know, quite a feat. Anyways, have fun, take it nice and slow, and I'll see you next time.